September 9th, 2022. The lights dimmed across India. Audiences leaned forward. And in the final moments of Brahmastra Part One, a single name was whispered, a name that would change everything. Brahmastra Part One grossed over 431 Indian rupees crore globally. But its greatest achievement wasn't the box office. It was the mystery it planted in every viewer's mind. Who is Dev? Dev, the protagonist, Shiva's own father, wields multiple astras and commands a power no one in the Astraverse has ever matched. He is not simply a villain. He is something far older. Director Ian Mukherjee promised a seismic shift for the sequel, declaring, Brahmastra Part 2. Dev is really where the fireworks will begin. A darker, juicier, more mythologically rooted chapter awaits. In March 2025, Ranbir Kapoor confirmed pre-production would begin immediately, targeting December 2026. Deepika Padukone joins as Amrita, Dev's formidable rival and Shiva's mother. The casting of Dev himself? A closely guarded secret. We were told the Devis were the heroes. The ancient texts tell a very different story. To understand Dev, we must travel back, not centuries, but millennia, to a time before good and evil even existed. Between 2000 and 1500 BCE, the earliest Vedic hymns were composed. In the Rig Veda, one of humanity's oldest sacred texts, the word Asura carried no darkness. It meant something luminous, a supreme lord, a giver of wisdom. The Devis and Asuras were not enemies by birth. According to Vedic mythology, they were half-brothers, both children of the ancient sage Prajapati Kashyapa. The same father, the same blood, two destinies, violently diverging. The ancient sage Prajapati Kashyapa, progenitor of gods, demons, humans, and beasts alike, sits at the root of the cosmic family tree. His two wives bore two celestial lineages, and between those lineages, the universe itself was divided. This was not a war between good and evil. This was a war between two interpretations of the divine, two cosmic philosophies that could not coexist. And humanity would spend thousands of years choosing sides. Sometime around 1500 BCE, something extraordinary happened. The same ancient religion, shared by Indo-Iranian peoples, split into two. And when it split, it didn't just divide a people. It inverted reality itself. In ancient India, the Devis, led by thunder-wielding Indra, became the supreme gods of the Vedic pantheon. The Asuras were gradually cast downward, rewritten as demons, as chaos bringers, as the enemies of heaven. But cross the mountains into ancient Persia, and the story flips entirely. In Zoroastrianism, the Ahuras, sharing the very same etymological root as Asura, are the supreme creators of good. Their god, Ahura Mazda, the Lord of Wisdom. And in that same Persian tradition, the Devas, the Devis of Hindu mythology, became the evil ones. Malevolent spirits, liars, deceivers. The gods of India were the demons of Persia, the same beings. Opposite verdicts. This is not mythology. This is documented history. Scholars trace the linguistic roots, Deva and Diva, Asura and Ahura, as mirror images born from a single Proto-Indo-Iranian source, split by a theological earthquake no one fully understands. The first war was never between heroes and monsters. It was between two ancient peoples who looked at the same sacred beings and chose to worship opposite halves. The original conflict was a crisis of perspective. In later post-Vedic texts, the Puranas and the great epics, the narrative hardened. The Devas became righteous. The Asuras became monstrous. The eternal conflict was given a name, the Dev-Asura Sangrama, the great cosmic war. But even within these texts that glorify the Devas, the scriptures cannot hide an uncomfortable truth. The gods of heaven were not paragons of virtue. They were strategic, manipulative, willing to deceive. Consider the Samudra Manthan, the churning of the ocean. In a rare moment of unity, Devas and Asuras joined forces, using the great serpent Vasuki and Mount Mandara to churn the cosmic ocean for the nectar of immortality. When the golden pot of Amrita, the nectar of immortality, finally emerged from the churning depths, the agreement was clear: share it equally. The Asuras had earned their half, but the Devas had other plans. Vishnu transformed into the enchantress Mohini, a divine deception, to distract the Asuras while the Devas consumed the Amrita entirely. The heroes of heaven secured their immortality through trickery, not righteousness. And Indra himself, king of the gods, lord of Swarga, is repeatedly depicted in ancient texts as insecure, jealous, and manipulative. He feared any mortal or Asura who grew too powerful and conspired endlessly to bring them down. Meanwhile, the Asura king Mahabali ruled his earthly kingdom with extraordinary justice and generosity. His people flourished. His reign was an era of unprecedented prosperity, and it was precisely this virtue that made the Devas fear him. The ancient scriptures do not hide this. The Asuras were not always the villains. Sometimes they were the wisest rulers, the most disciplined warriors, the most devoted seekers of truth. The texts themselves carry the contradiction. The Devasura Sangrama never concluded with a final victory. No treaty was signed. No side was permanently vanquished. Because in Hindu philosophy, this war was never meant to end. It was meant to continue, eternally. Mythologist Devdutta Puttanik, in his 2018 work, Devas vs. Asuras, captured this truth with striking clarity. Neither side permanently wins. The peace that follows the defeat of an Asura is only a temporary reprieve. Each time an Asura is defeated, another rises. Each time order is restored, chaos finds a new form. The cycle is not a flaw in the cosmic design. According to Hindu philosophy, it is the design itself. Puttanik goes further. The existence of Asuras is almost necessary for the world. Without the chaotic drive of darkness, the order of light would stagnate, calcify, and ultimately collapse under its own rigid weight. Light needs shadow to be seen. Order needs chaos to remain dynamic. The Devas and Asuras are not opposing forces fighting for dominance. They are two hands of the same universe, each necessary for the other's existence. The war transformed. It moved off the celestial battlefield and into the human soul. Every choice between ambition and compassion, between power and sacrifice, between darkness and light. That is where the Devasura Sangrama continues today. And this is precisely why the character of Dev is so compelling. He is not a cartoon villain. He is the embodiment of a philosophical question that humanity has wrestled with for over 3,000 years. Dev seeks the Brahmastra, a weapon of both ultimate destruction and ultimate creation. In this single detail, Mukherjee has encoded the entire philosophical paradox of the ancient war. The most powerful weapon is neither good nor evil. It simply is. Mukherjee has promised a more academic approach to mythology for the sequel, diving deep into Indian sacred texts to ground the Astraverse in authentic ancient lore. The fireworks, he says, are just beginning. Amrita, played by Deepika Padukone, stands as Dev's primary rival and Shiva's mother. In naming her after the nectar of immortality itself, the Astraverse has made her not just a character, but a mythological symbol at the heart of the eternal conflict. The father who becomes the villain, the son who must confront him, the mother who stands between them. This is not just Bollywood drama. It is the exact structure of the ancient Vedic cosmic family, replayed for a new generation. The real story of Dev is not about a sequel. It is about a question encoded into human civilization at its very dawn. What happens when the being who was supposed to protect the world decides the world needs to be remade? For 3 millennia, the answer has been the same. The Rigveda knew it. The Puranas encoded it. Puttanik articulated it. And now Ian Mukherjee is bringing it to the largest screens on Earth. There are no permanent victors in the First War, because the First War was never between gods and demons. It was always between 2 truths, equally ancient, equally powerful, equally necessary. The universe holds both. And so does every human soul that has ever gazed at the stars and wondered. The First War never ended. It never will. And when December 2026 arrives and the lights dim once more across India, when Dev finally steps into the light, we will not just be watching a film. We will be watching history remember itself. The Astroverse is not just a cinematic universe. It is an invitation to look deeper, to question the heroes we were given, and to ask whether the darkness we were taught to fear might carry a truth we were never meant to forget.